Rich, welcome back to the now award nominated Beyond the Box podcast. Wow, it's been a while. We've not been around. We've been very busy. We'll go into the reasons that we've been busy and people haven't seen us very, very soon. But you called me a few weeks ago and said we've been nominated for an award. Tell us more.
I did, mate. Yeah, honestly, I was on Instagram, minding my business as I do. And obviously, we've got the up and coming show at London Olympia, and they host the National Card Show Awards. And there's all the different categories for, hobby MVP, best TCG streamer, sports streamer, card shop, card show. And one of the categories was podcast. I was like, that's interesting. Who else does podcasts? And I clicked in and I was flicking through and I saw names I expected to see. And about three tiles across, bang, Beyond the Box. And yeah, we've been nominated for Podcast of the Year. 6 episodes in, believe it or not. 6 episodes in, and we're already nominated, Frankie. They love us.
Oh,
They
mate,
do.
that is amazing. Our shorts certainly get a lot of attention, quite often
That's true.
reaching quite a few hundred views. So people like the short format stuff. We rabbit on, and we often have quite a lot to say. So it's if people sit in and enjoy the ride, sit down with a cup of tea, and they enjoy this longer format stuff, amazing. But if people are only taking those short snippets of little hobby nuggets, I don't think that's a bad thing either. So it's
At the end of the day, it still achieves what we want to do. We're still talking about the hobby, and all that happens is people are taking it in a short format. People are taking the little bits here and there, and if it's getting the views, people are sharing it. So obviously, what we say makes sense, or they're sharing it to take the mick. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, or
either's
it
good.
makes absolutely no sense, and they're going, "Look at these idiots."
Love it. But look, it's a nice thing. Whoever put us forward and whoever nominated us. Do you know what I like, Rich? I used to do a lot of business awards, and you used to have to apply and put yourself forward, or someone would say you've done this, and then you'd get an email from them saying the award ceremony is on this date, and if you want a table of 10, it costs you £1,500 and you get a meal included. And it was all a money spinner. What I love is that it's come out of nowhere. We didn't apply for it, we didn't try and butter anyone up for it, and there isn't any ulterior motive. It's genuinely someone who has gone, they're doing something that they think is valuable and nominated us for it. So I think that's amazing. And whoever it was who spotted what we're doing and put us forward, obviously a huge, huge thank you. So
Absolutely.
yeah, pressure's on now, Rich. We've got to start delivering a bit more content, and we've got to actually make sure we're actually talking a bit of sense now. So
We're gonna do it. We're gonna get
we're going
regular.
to do it. Absolutely. So, and I will say it's been my fault. I used to be a nocturnal animal, as Rich knows, and I used to be up late streaming and whatnot and having really late nights. And it was really easy that after we both finished streaming and you've had those blaring lights shining on you and you can't sleep for another hour or so because you've got to switch your brain off, we used to fill that gap by doing a few things. I haven't been on Whatnot for a long time. We'll go into that and the fact that we might be coming back. Um, and yeah, I've just become with now being involved at Cray Wanderers and managing a couple of teams there. It's become early riser for me. For the first time in my life, I have a normal body clock and actually wake up at a sensible hour of the day. So it has been my fault, but I'm going to do my best to find time and make sure that we can churn some more content out. Um, let's start. I love the fact we used to start with this, and so much has gone on. It used to be a week and so much had gone on. Well, it's now been
Wow.
probably a month, maybe more, and so much has gone on. So it's all happening out there. There's so many different takes for where the hobby is at the moment. I think everyone's got their own opinion of where things are sitting. We seem to be in this little area of uncertainty, I would say, of where things are in sports and in Pokemon and other areas of the hobby. So let's go with you, Rich. You've been out and about. You've been seeing what's happening out there, and you're always involved in loads of the online stuff. How have things been for Collectible Corner, and what's your sort of hot take on the hobby at the moment?
Right, yeah, absolutely. I think the hobby right now is as big as it has ever been since I've been involved in the hobby in the last 3, 4 years. Um, I think it's as active as it was since peak COVID. That was the last time I think we've seen a peak of activity like this. That was a peak through boredom when no one had anything else to do, for being really honest. Whereas I feel like this is a peak through interest. And I think that makes a massive difference. And as a result, from my attendance of card shows and things like that, I think I've never seen liquidity in the hobby like I have right now. I've never seen as many cards exchanging hands, people doing deals, PC cards being picked up, and stuff like that. I think it's been really every card show I've been to, vendors are all saying it's crazy. Like it's as active as I've ever seen it. People are buying cards left, right, and center. I'm seeing people that are turning up to card shows to buy, buzzing because there's so many people there selling cards and they can find what they're after. I think it's in a really healthy place. I think the streaming platform is as busy as it's ever been. You know, there's as many people streaming as there ever has been. There's as many people in the streams. You know, we've been a little bit strangled for product. We're in that time of the year again where they've dropped everything, and then delays have meant we've now got a big 6-7 week gap without product. That comes around, you're always going to get that. But yeah, I think the hobby's crazy. I think one of the biggest things to note that I've noticed is the legend boom. Now, I think legends have gone crazy. Now, name your reason of whatever that is, but the Messi movement has been insane from probably like 6 weeks ago. We've just seen his prices do this and they're not stopping. About 2-3 weeks later, Ronaldo started. That's it, he's gone. I went to go comp a couple of David Beckham autos that I had just in my box. Prism, I got a Prism base, Select base. They were £120 cards at my last card show, MK, the Sports Card Social. They're doing like 180 quid. It's been a 50% uplift in these cards, again, over a space of windows. And you're just seeing legends skyrocketing. You know, we've got a beautiful card here, literally just gone. Franz Beckenbauer, Select Silver Auto. Latest comp, £225. That's to me, these are the prices these cards should always have been doing, because I've always felt legends are monstrously undervalued and underappreciated. But I think that's mainly because it's predominantly a young man's hobby.
Mm.
But it's now starting to see the legend market in general. You know, I've named Messi, Ronaldo, Beckham, everyone. I'm just seeing it on the skyrocket at the moment. And I think, again, I think that's a really healthy thing for the hobby. I think that's returning to where it should be. But I think that runs hand in hand with the fact that the hobby's as busy as it's ever been right now. We've all got our opinions on why that might be. I think a lot of marketing money is coming in at the moment into individuals, and those individuals are obviously being very, very active and very visible on platforms. Do you know what? If that's the way fanatics, whatnot, and stuff like that do it, then fair enough. At the end of the day, if it grows the hobby for anyone involved in the hobby, that's a good thing.
Yeah,
How about
no, I agree.
yourself?
I mean, yeah, you look at those legends. Beckham was one of them. Beckham, we used to say, look, when you had a Beckham auto, we're going back years now, not months or weeks, whatever. But we're going back years. You'd struggle to pick a Beckham auto up less than 500 quid. You couldn't do it. Like that was the going rate. It was £500, and you then all of a sudden £100. It went out of nowhere. It just seemed to just drop, and then you
Just
could pick up
dropped.
Pele and Maradona, and you could pick up all of these people quite reasonably. I noticed it not so long ago because somebody said to me they was looking for a nice Maradona auto, and I said, yeah, no worries. Normally about £1,000. Well, you try and find a good, no, not any. You can get a Maradona auto for £1,000, of course you can. But I'm talking about something either low pop graded or very low numbered from an actual collectible set, not just any old, Maradona auto.
Yeah.
Mate, you can't get anywhere near £1,000 anymore. Not even
No.
close. Those days are gone. So we saw what I would call a massive decline in legend prices, and all of a sudden, like you say, it's bounced back out of. But like you, they're back where they belong. there was something
Yeah.
massively wrong with what they were going for. This was always going to happen, and that some people took really good advantage of that and didn't sleep on it. Um, you touched upon their influencer marketing. I'm a big fan of influencer marketing. Actually, once upon a time, set up a business with one of the director's sons of West Ham, and we created a portal where you could go and select your industry and you could select your budget, and it would show you all the influencers that you could get to promote your product for your budget. Because that was what people struggled with. It's what the influence struggled with. Influencers were like, how much should I be charging? They didn't know. And then the businesses were like, well, how do I find and get in contact with these influencers? And they really struggled. I think Whatnot have always gone with that ego drive and wanted influencer marketing. And that is something that Fanatics have pushed even more and really kind of tried um, to drive that on. So it's something that I think you need to be a little bit careful with. It's certainly seen a quick lift in attention, prices, demand, and all of the things that we've seen. But I've been speaking to a lot of people who have been in our industry for a long time, what I would call the collectors, people who hold things and not looking to sell, who are not looking to invest,
Yeah.
people who are collecting and actually sitting on the things that they love and enjoy, people who are completing full sets, people who are completing mini sets, people who have a PC and actually are adding to that PC and have no intention of selling their cards in their lifetime. Like it's something they'll never sell, and they're a little bit disillusioned at the moment. The way that the hobby doesn't have that collector's feel anymore. We don't feel like everyone seems to be buying to resell or nipping in and out of things. And that has created liquidity, as you said, because there's a lot of
Yeah.
money changing hands. And typically, normally, the way that things increase in price is when there's less movement because people are sitting on things. So things are not as instantly and readily available. So while we're seeing this bubble, it's great because it's going boom, 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 and everyone's active, and it's created a really fast-paced in and out kind of. If that ever slows, because these people who have been brought in, who are not maybe in the hobby for the right reasons and come in and get
Mhm.
stung because prices do take a dip or whatever, and then they resent that, and then they go, oh, I'm not getting involved in that anymore. I spent £300 on that and now I can't sell it for 150 quid or whatever. um it long term, it can cause a little bit of an issue. So look, we're all going to ride the wave right now, of course we are.
Of
It's
course.
a good place for us all to be if you have a business or you are looking to get into the hobby to buy and move and buy and sell or buy and trade. Um, but yeah, so like, I don't want to put a negative on it. I can
No, not
often
at all.
be the man of doom and gloom on this podcast, but it's just the reality of where it is. I am a collector. I do complete full sets, and I've always been a sportsman, as you know. I've dabbled with Pokemon. Recently, I've been completing full sets with the boy. We completed White Flare, which I thought was a great release. I thought the artworks were fantastic. I thought the BWRs were brilliant. So we've sat there and complete, and I've enjoyed the whole collecting element of it. And it feels like right now there's more of a collector drive still in Pokemon, which is quite typical.
Yeah.
I mean, in the name itself, you've got to catch them all. It kind of has always been about that in Pokemon. But in the sports side, we have got a few people in the UK who are those whales, if you like, of the UK hobby space. And we've always been about collecting PCs and sitting on the things that we really like. I just hope it doesn't get lost, is what I'm getting at, because
Yeah.
ultimately the foundation of the hobby has to be propped up on genuine enthusiasts and collectors, not fair weather. I'm just in it to try and make a few quid. Does that make sense?
I absolutely agree, and it's funny that you say because I likewise, with my little one, have really been enjoying collecting recently, and only base cards, but she's trying to complete the 1 to 220 of the Disney Chrome cards. We've got a nice little binder, and she just wants to collect all of them because she's obsessed with Disney. And a really good friend of mine, whenever he buys a box, he says, "Look, here's the base cards. I know she's gonna love them." So, and that's what we do. And you know what? We go through them. Oh, it's a new one, and she's jumping around the room because I love it. It's just amazing the little look on her face when she finally got the Lightning McQueen that she wanted to slot in between Mater and Guido, or whatever it was. And it's like, I love that. But my only issue is I don't know if sports cards lends itself to that anymore. It does on a really low end scale. It does on a low end scale. It does with your match attacks, your Panini Adrenaline. The sticker books still have that, but I don't know if the cards have that. There's lots of
Shall I?
sets at the moment that do.
Yeah, a little take on that, right?
Go on.
And this is my top tip for anyone who may be struggling with how to, what's the correct terminology? How to become a sports card collector or somebody involved in sports card collecting. If you go back year on year, quite often it's not the obvious rookie chase that becomes the one that has the value and becomes the collector's one further down the line. There's normally in each season a rookie comes out, everyone goes, "Oh, he's the man," and everyone jumps on it, and they're all, whether it be Ansu Fati from
Let
before,
me give you the prime example here. I was a Garnacho collector,
yeah,
all right? And if you weren't collecting Garnacho, you were collecting Fabio Carvalho of Liverpool,
yeah,
both of which haven't worked out. But who was the other rookie in that set? Julian Alvarez,
yeah,
who's now won the Copa, who won the World Cup. He's won it all. You know, the kid, he won a treble. The kid's won everything, and his card values are going up and up. You have a look at the price of a Julian Alvarez rookie card now.
yeah.
You're
And
you're
not so long
proof
ago,
of
you
your
couldn't
point.
give them away. You couldn't give them
Fact,
away. His autos were
absolute
like
case.
£5, £10. Even the low numbered stuff, they were worth nothing. You couldn't
No,
give them away. It
and that's
was
the absolute evidence
unbelievable.
to your point.
Yeah. Another one, Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer wasn't the chase that year, and City had a
Not
few of them. They had that McAtee. No one knew who was going to be the main man, and then we had the breakout one. So there's always, so I've always said that when you want to start collecting sports cards or whatever, that Cole Palmer year, I've got so many in shoe boxes, full sets of Topps Chrome, because I always felt that that year there was something about that year. There was so many good young rookies, whether it be Liam Delap, who might come good on me one day. He keeps threatening to do it, and then he disappears again, but he keeps threatening. At one point, I thought he was really going to come strong, and he sort of faded away again. But there were so many top performing in the Premier League under 23s and under 21s. There was record breakers. So many people who were, really pushing it in there. And then they was all now in this rookie chase, and they was all making that step up. So if you're going to start buying Prism, or you're going to buy Chrome, you're going to buy Obsidian, if you're going to start buying a product, start collecting it. Complete your binder and put in that binder the lowest numbered version of any card that you can. So if you get a Cole Palmer to 199, and then you get an opportunity to get a Cole Palmer to 50, take your 199 out, put your 50 in, and just collect the lowest numbered version of that set that you possibly can. Put it in a drawer and forget about it for a little while. And then rather than you going guns blazing on one particular player that you think is the main chase and then
never do
coming
that.
unstuck, the amount of times that you go back to your binder and go, I can't believe what I've got here. Like it was just like, I've got all of these cards. That's now the main man. Like when I bought that big set I bought loads of slabs off a very well-known man who may potentially watch this in the hobby. I bought the Desiree Doué red slab. and I think I paid $150 for it or whatever the price was in the bulk deal. But he was someone that I just really believed. Plus, I'd been collecting that particular set, so I put it to the side, forgot about it. Champions League final comes round, has a worldie. I go and get that card out. I sell it for $2,000. Like it, that is the game, and it is about getting things and forgetting about it. All of this, get something, make 10%, make 20%, blah blah blah. It's great and it's fun, and that is part of it. And that is, I'm not going to say that isn't a big part of the hobby as well. I do exactly the same, but there's nothing wrong with taking that Pokemon route. Get a full set, stick it away, and I guarantee you'll have so many surprises that you would never even have thought would become the valuable
One of the big
cards.
ones I had recently was Jarrell Harto.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? I just had so many of his cards lying around from an Ajax. I had a box of Ajax cards, and it was only recently I went through, and I think there was like a PSA 9 blue flood Jarrell Harto or something like that. I was like, oh, it's like a 150 quid card.
yeah,
All of a sudden, out of nowhere, because of the move to Chelsea, bang. It's
yeah,
just it's one of those things. It's what I agree actually. Yeah, just find a Chrome, find Chrome, do Carnival, do something like that. Just complete the whole set. And I think it was right. If you get the opportunity to get swap that base for a refractor, swap that refractor for a numbered card. So, oh, no, there's a lower numbered card, and then just put it away. And that's that beautiful thing is because that way you're not putting big money in.
mm,
You put big money into something, you can sometimes panic and need to get your money out again.
yeah.
But when it's low money and accumulated over a long period of time, that's a nice way to collect.
No, and do you know what? Sometimes it ain't even based on merit, right? Another perfect example. People laughed at me, mate. Laughed at me
I
when
often
I
do.
turned around and said, in that era of like Camavingas and all that, and I turned around and went, stock up on Joshua Xerxes. And everyone laughed and went, Xerxes, what are you talking about? I'm not saying he's turned out to be the best player, but he's low numbered obsidian cards, again, that were £5, £10, £20 card max, weren't no big money, graded, was selling for like 400 quid, 500 quid when he went to Man United. He got a move. That was the moment to sell. Okay, now that was probably come right back down again, completely crashed because he can't even get on the football pitch. But like I said, he somehow got a move to United, and that was the moment. And it only takes something like that, and all of a sudden you can just absolutely, and it is then, there's something really therapeutic about completing a set. I love sitting here and going through stuff and binding it up. It's a calm part of the hobby. It's an enjoyable, it's not stressful. Some of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
other parts, breaks and some of the other bits, and all that's fun. And I love all of that. I get involved in every part of the hobby, as you know. And I don't knock any of it because I think all of it is part of the overall ecosystem of what it is that makes the hobby enjoyable, and it all adds to things, and opening and ripping wax and then repacks and then breaks, and all of it plays a big part. But something about no mass money, relaxed collecting of completing a binder, and the satisfaction you get when you get to the end of it and you see it fully completed, it's just such a nice thing.
I like that. Yeah, you get excited. Oh, I completed my first page. There's the first double page. Things like
Yeah.
that in it. It's just a nice little thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that isn't about kids either. You're right. There's like base sets. I enjoy doing it with Albie because I'm not scared of him damaging one of the cards. So he can be a bit more hands on, if that makes sense. But
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
nothing wrong with you having an adult version of that where you are trying to complete something that does have a little bit more value. Like we said, like my mate, he loved Obsidian. He tried to do all the to 50s, all numbered to 50 Obsidian complete set. Such a lovely thing to do. And okay, the Messi one will probably be the one that's a little bit painful to do, but it's a nice thing. And he actually done really well out of it on Phil Foden because he ended up doing a lot of Phil Foden Obsidian collecting, and he got out of it just at the right time. He got out of it, and he actually done Wayne Rooney as well, and done very well on Wayne Rooney Obsidian. So there's all these little things. Pick your set, pick the thing that you like, get the full version of it, and I guarantee there'll be a surprise in there somewhere that pays off and
Yeah.
covers a lot of that cost that you had while you was doing it. So Yeah, I mean, I've been involved in a lot more Pokemon recently. I still keep my finger, and we're obviously here. We have to be involved in everything. So I'm still involved in sports cards quite heavily. I've just been enjoying Pokemon. I've just been, that world at the moment. It's so easy to go and access things other than off the shelf product now. What happened with sports has now happened with Pokemon. You can't go in Smiths and buy a Pokemon product anymore. You can't go in Argos. You can't go on Very. All those places where you used to find it easy to go and get a box. Like even now, half term, go down Smiths, try and get a box of Pokemon. Can't get it. So yeah, it makes it a little bit tougher, and prices have got a little bit keen. But the aftermarket bit, there's so much amazing stuff out there, and for me, while Pokemon has some certain areas where they've had some fantastic sets recently and prices are ridiculously high, if I'm scratching that bit of nostalgia, that bit of I want to relive my youth again, first edition Rocket, Team Rocket stuff like that, that's not tens, so reasonable.
Yeah.
And that flashback feeling that you get of remembering when you was opening those packs at school and stuff like that, it's so nice. And they're lovely things. I think at the moment I got in one of my accounts the Vile Plume from base, one of the first sets. I can't remember if it's base set or the one after. Hollow, first edition, PSA 8. I think it was 50 quid. I mean, it's just such a nice thing to own. So, yeah, I think I'm hoping that something inspires me at some point to really get back into sports again. Just had my head turned a little bit, Rich, and I don't know if that's because sports isn't exciting me, or if the fact that Pokemon's been thriving so much is what's done it. But what would be your
Well,
take from an outsider looking in? You know me. What's the reason why I've turned my head away from sports a little bit right now?
do you know what's interesting? I can answer this question, and then it's going to lead beautifully into our next topic as well. So the I think what it is sports is always there. Um, I think one of the things I love about sport is it's very, very relative. It's very fluid with the real world. I think your love of football in general has probably been sapped quite a lot recently due to your team's on-field
Cheers,
performances.
mate.
Just I thought, yeah, I'm just, and I think but genuinely, it has an impact. That
Yeah,
that genuinely has a real world impact. If you're disillusioned with football, the last thing you want to do is go home in the evening and start seeing it on card form as well. That's a factor. But I've certainly been like that. I haven't wanted to add any United cards into my PC for a long while because at the moment every single one of their faces annoy me. Not after this weekend, but every time, do you know what? Give me every Harry Maguire card you can right now. I'll buy any of them. But um, it's very much. I think it's relative as well. But I think the biggest thing that's probably turned your head at the moment is purely the boom in Pokemon.
mm,
And when something is big and loud, it turns your head and draws your attention in any circumstance, warp of life. Something loud and noisy happens, you turn your head and see what's going on. And sometimes you go towards it and see what's going on. And I think because you are that collector deep down, and sport hasn't given you much of that opportunity recently, you're not going to sit there and complete a set of reverence, are you? But
no,
the sets that are being churned out at the moment don't lead towards the ability to complete sets. You get Chrome. Now I'm struggling. All the variations of Chrome. All right, okay, cool. We'll
yeah,
have Jade, and we'll have Carnival, and we'll have all the variations thereupon. But I think as that true deep collector, you've kind of got that. And again, I think where you've got a youngster, it's designed and targeted for children. That you're going to pique that interest. You're also a dad, so when you see as a dad something piquing the little one's interest, do I have any interest in collecting Disney cards? No. Am I there being muggins bidding on to numbered Disney cards of her favourite characters at the moment? Of course I am. Because whatever I pay for that card, the smile on her face is worth more than whatever I paid for it. So I think that's ultimately what it is. But like where I said, it leads perfectly into the next topic. I've attended some local card shows recently. So rather than just the big stuff which I'm vending at, I thought, you know what? There's a card show, half an hour around. I think we spoke about it on a podcast recently with yourself. You checked out a local one. And everything you saw mirrored. It's
Mm.
not just your local show. I have been to two in recent weeks. I went to the Reading Card Show and I went to the Swindon Card Show. And both of them were Pokefests. It wasn't marketed as a TCG show. It wasn't marketed as a Pokemon show. They had sports logos on their website. It was in my head. I was like, right, there might be a few. Reading Card Show, one sports table of the entire show. Must have been 80 tables. There was one, and you know what? The poor bloke looked flustered because he was three deep at the table the whole show. And I couldn't work it out why. And I'm like, well, where are the other sports vendors? Where is everyone else? You know, I monstrously regretted the fact I didn't just go for it and vend. I think I'd have had an amazing day because there were so many people that are interested in sport, but there was all the demand and no supply. I went to Swindon. There was three. There was three sports vendors at an entire car show. Again, all of them busy all day. And it had me asking a few questions of one, why? Why were there not more sports vendors? But then I think it answered the question. And I think it answers the question when I see how card shows have to run their table allocations when you talk to the big ones. TCG is so big, it will just swamp and drown sports. And I think where we exist and we run and we live in our little sports card ecosystem, and a lot of people that are listening to this is because it's a sports card podcast, ultimately, at the end of the day, they don't realize actually that TCG is crazy. I'm pretty sure I could go and rent the local sports hall where I live and on 2 weeks' notice put on a 40 table card show because all I have to mention is card show and the TCG guys will fill it
Yeah.
because they know wherever they are in the country, there's collectors. Wherever they are, they're going to sell and make money. And I think that ultimately it answers your question of that's why it's been turned. It's just massive. And once you've kind of got your head in there, go, bloody hell. It's not for me. Collectible Corner started as a Pokemon business. We were a Pokemon business. And one day on stream, someone said, you know, Rich, can you get sports cards? And that kind of introduced it. And the sports card went like this, and the Pokemon kind of dropped off. And I enjoy sports more personally. Pokemon isn't for me. And that's why it's boomed. But it was really interesting, all these local shows, how dominant they were. And what was really interesting was the sports guys that had got in did brilliantly
Mm.
because there was still people in the room looking for them. But, you know, I've always said to you when you go to a card show, if £5,000 walked into the room that day looking to be spent on sports and there's 20 vendors, that's got to be divided out. You know, if there's one or two vendors, there's a lot of money to go onto their tables. So it's interesting to see. I think maybe it needs to be on card shows themselves to try and force a bigger allocation. But at the end of the day, why put in the extra work if they know they're going to sell out their tables straight away? I've spoken to a few people. I think we had, what was the weekend? This weekend was Birmingham and Yorkshire. Where this weekend just gone. Again, I heard really, really heavy with Pokemon
Mm.
tables. So I think what's going on and coming up in the very near future with a big saturation of a lot more sports only shows. We've got one coming up next month. Obviously, we've got Fora in Brighton, running the Brighton card show, sports card only. You've got the Sports Card Social, which is, from my understanding, now looking at ramping up to doing multiple shows a year at a much bigger venue, sports only. Fantastic. Um, we're building up and getting more of these sports only shows where people like us that, you know, and people that are listening to this that want it, you're going to start getting your safe place where you're not going to be surrounded by the Pikachu hoodies and plushies. You know, they are coming through. So, but it's just interesting to see. It wasn't just that show you went to. I did two
Mm.
separate, in different counties, and had saw the exact same thing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the one that I went to was a Pokemon only show. They didn't have an opportunity for sports to be there. But look, I get the whole sports only thing. I think Harry's had a tough job at the London Card Show to try and push a show that has a balance of both. And he's had a really hard job to make that happen in the best way possible. I think he's done exceptionally well, seeing
I agree.
how difficult it is. Like you said, it would be very easy for him to fill that entire place, and he has people screaming at him for Pokemon, saying, he has a massive waiting list for Pokemon. Pokemon instantly sell out. There's so many more people who want to go, and yet he gives himself a headache by ensuring that there is a large section of sports. He doesn't
Yeah,
really have to give himself that headache. So, I understand. I think it's amazing what he's tried to do. Where I'm coming a little bit unstuck at the moment is, and this is me being, completely honest and transparent, is that as a card collector, I actually see myself as a card collector. I don't see myself as a sports card collector. I don't really see myself as a Pokemon collector at all. I'm more sports cards than I am Pokemon. I'll collect any card, boxing, even not just the licensed stuff. I've got a lot of the unlicensed boxing stuff. I just love cards in general. I think Collectible Corner's a wonderful place to go and be involved in the hobby. And I've always said to you, because you offer such variety, you do offer sports, but you offer these really random, the coin stuff that you offer that's so different and such an interesting place. And that's me. I can see any card and just love it. It really doesn't matter what it is. It's not a particular genre. It's not a particular thing. So the fact that I have this such variety, I'm kind of in this middle space. And if I'm honest, at the last London Card Show, if I didn't have on the Friday was different. Friday, unbelievable with sports.
it was.
However, it seems like the Friday is very balanced with 50% buyers coming in for Pokemon, 50% for sports. I was literally, as soon as I sat down at the table, one guy, I'll buy every sports card on your table. And he ended up picking out probably 50% of my sports stuff and left another 50% because I said to him, look, don't just take everything, take what you want. I don't mind spending on the time on actually going through it all. As soon as he'd gone, someone else come up. Right, I want to take what you've got left. So it was like, it was amazing, how serious sports collectors were there and how bigger buyers were there to try and, make deals happen. But the Saturday, if I didn't have Pokemon, I think I might have gone home crying. So I'm kind of this in between at the moment where I've got really nice Pokemon stuff and I've got really nice sports stuff. Yet a lot of shows kind of treat it as, well, you're either a Pokemon vendor or you're a sports card vendor, and that's how we're kind of treating people. I just like to see variety, mate. I like to see something
Yeah,
different. I like to see, and that it's no. I've got to be honest. That local card show that I went to with Pokemon, as much as it was really busy and I enjoyed it, it did feel like every table you walked up to was kind of the same. Like that's the sort of feeling I got. It was very like we're all trying to offer the same cards. It was just a bit like, whereas when you go to London, there is more variety and you can kind of go and see a bit of baseball and then you can go and see a bit of vintage and then you can go and see some Pokemon if you want to get involved in that. I kind of want to see even more variety. I just want to see, and I think if tables were encouraged to kind of have a space where they could bring along a bit of everything, I think that would be a really good thing. But there's no question, mate, that these little shows are popping up and it can only be a good thing. I
it's
still
hobby.
think that, yeah, and it is the hobby, and that's it. And while I would always prioritize something like London because it's got so much going on there, there's something quite nice about nipping to a little local one with no stress, no pressure. Spend a couple of hours, job done, rather than your whole weekend, and you've kind of got to fit around it, book accommodation, all that sort of stuff. Don't get me wrong, I love the social aspect of London as well. I like the trade nights. I like getting involved and meeting people, and because everyone stays in the local area, the social aspect of London is amazing. But I have a lot on my weekends, and sometimes the fact that I can go somewhere just for a couple of hours, have a quick run through, grab myself a few products, do whatever. And actually, the more that we see Smiths not being able to offer sealed product, you can't buy it in Argos. These shows are going to become even more important because it's the only place you
Absolutely.
can actually go and buy product.
No, that I agree with absolutely.
Yeah. So, right, that was the card shows. Next one, we have got the Whatnot repack change. That caused
Big one.
a big whirlwind. That really got people panicked. But if I'm honest, and this isn't a dig, it really isn't. Everything they've done is kind of what me and you have always said should have happened from day one. Not that we knew better. That's not the case at all. I just feel like this should have come sooner. Nobody really anticipated the repack world taking off like it did in the UK.
Yeah.
Nobody really saw that coming. And it was a free for all, maybe for a little bit too long. And people who had been in the hobby for a long time saw what people were doing. And because they didn't have any regulation, and a few of us started after seeing what was done in America and wanted to do it properly. But other people saw an opportunity to abuse the fact that there wasn't much regulation or rules in place, and ended up causing a situation where I think consumers, and certainly on a new platform where they create a lot of new interest in the hobby, it caused people to have a bad perception of the hobby from day one and maybe turn away. And that was my biggest concern. So I'm glad some rules and regulation have come around. I'm glad that they're getting a grip of it, because things I was seeing, Rich, were bugging
I
me
mean,
and
yeah.
not good.
I've got very, very little tuppence in this. When it comes to repack manufacturing, you're the guy. When it comes to that, you're the man. And obviously, I don't stream on Whatnot, so I don't have many hats in this race. Obviously, this is an on you one, bud. But my tuppence on this topic is I don't think these rules affect anyone that doesn't have anything to hide.
Yes.
That's my thing. Anyone that does it right has nothing to worry about the new rules, and that's my only tuppence. There is a few repack brands out there that are well established that have got absolutely nothing to be concerned about. I don't need to list them all. Those of you watching this know the well established, well branded repacks. Yeah, these people have absolutely nothing to worry about. And naturally, I include stacked and packed in that every day of the week. The only thing that I think the only people that need to be concerned are it tends to be the smaller streamers that use it to take advantage, is my opinion. It's a opportunity to I can sell this and not see what I'm selling, so and by then it's too late. And what you'll see, and I've seen it before, and I'm never going to name names, but I've seen people go to a card show, and the day after a card show, all the cards that were still on their table at the end of the show were the ones that were in a repack. So I was like, right, so the stuff that you couldn't sell and wasn't desirable on the day is the stuff you've then decided to repack. And you can tell when you watch a break, before you buy into repacks, watch some being opened. If the cards coming out of them make you go, holy shit, that's a bit special, that's a good repack. If the cards coming out of it, you're being shown comps and look, that's what it's worth. That's what it's worth. You do your a lot of the time make your own mind up. You know, I don't have to teach people how to. Just watch the product being opened. If you're looking at the cards coming out of it, going, "Wow, I'd want to own that. That's a cool card." Then obviously the cards that are going into it are desirable and the ones you want to see. And like I said, there's the established brands out there. There's the ones that you recognize everywhere. There's a reason that they're well established. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I
That's
think
my
my
tuppence on the entire topic. You know,
no, I get it. I think there's two things here, and I think where this needs to be careful is I'm with you that there are certain brands that have. What I'm not clear on at the moment is while they've released a lot of initial ground rules and they've released a lot of, you know, maybe fairly open to interpretation um, guidelines on this stuff. I think it needs to be a bit clear because what I'm concerned about is that it needs to be a fair playing field for all of those companies you've just said. And I include Stacked and Packed in that. But it needs to be, because they're talking about now verified repacks. So people who PSA can verify a repack now and a repack product. Yeah, but verify what? Verify the checklist, verify the value, verify what cards are going in, verify what? That's where I'm a little bit like, that's grey area. And it needs to be equal. What I don't want to see is favoritism. I don't want them seeing, oh, because this company is the biggest and have deep pockets, and we know that they sell more on our platform than anyone else, that we're immediately going to give them approval, and all of the others have to jump through different hoops to what they've had to jump through. It needs to be a set guideline, and it needs to also be, and this is where it needs to be fair. I don't care if you are a proper manufacturer of the product or you're a brand new company trying to set up and you're trying to produce a mystery product for your stream like a lot of people have. Now, yes, they did. That was maybe the area that caused some problems. I never really had a problem, mate, on somebody creating a £10 mystery product that no one was ever going to get really that burnt on. And, you know, you might have got a £5 card or something like that. That was never a problem to me. And it needs to be as equal that if they want to create their product, they should be able to jump through the same guidelines as a massive product and be able to get their product approved on the platform. Needs to be equal measures. Yeah. Where I have a bigger issue is there needs to be guidelines on the manufacturing, yes, because we want a standard and we want a quality. I agree with that. There needs to be rules on how to sell it. And how to sell it gives you a bigger problem than the people manufacturing them. And I always said to you that the reason Stacked and Pack do series runs is because where we offer breaks on our product, there must be an equal chance of every single team hitting value and volume across that series. So, you know, we have teams like Leeds and Luton. We've had some of the best possible Luton cards come out of our product of PSA 10s, gold prisms, autographs, one of ones. We've had as big a chases in the Luton spot as we've had sometimes in the Manchester United spot.
yeah,
So we always made sure it was equal and fair. Where I used to have a real big problem was where companies were getting these repacks or streamers were creating these repacks and selling spots for certain players. And that spot never, ever had any chance of hitting a card of that player. And sometimes I've seen those spots sell as much as £500-600 for a spot. And they had zero chance of ever seeing any return on their money. That's where I've got a big problem. If you buy a case of any repack product and it was manufactured properly, I can sort of understand when you're selling them as singles that it's just, it is what it is. What you pull is what you pull. You're going to get what's inside. That's fair enough. But when it comes to breaks, if you buy a single product, if you do a break on tops and you sell the Messi spot, well, you know that there's Messi one of ones in that product. There's Messi autos. There's Messi, all the other parallels that come with it in that checklist. You know that that box has a chance of hitting a Messi card. If you're not buying a product that was done as a series and you're selling it as a break, and there was never any chance that there was a Messi card in that product, That's where I get a little bit, it's borderline for me, and I don't like it. That's why we've always done teams. We've never done player breaks. We've always done teams with repacks.
Yeah.
And because then, there is, if you want to chase Messi, go and buy the Argentina spot, go and buy what the PSG spot, go and buy the Barcelona spot, whatever. But you've got a chance of hitting the other cards at the same time. When you send a player in a break of a product and there was never, ever any chance of you seeing any return on your investment, for me, that's a borderline scam. You've charged someone something and they had zero chance of ever getting any value back. I don't like it. Didn't sit comfortable with me. So I do feel, and that's why we always said with Stacked and Packed, is we do full series runs. We sell Series 1, Series 2, Series 4, Series 5, Series 6. And the proof was in the pudding that a lot of people, if they hadn't hit on a certain spot, they kind of know that if they stuck with it, they'd hit eventually because everything had an equal chance of hitting. Yes, Arsenal might go 2 breaks of not hitting a card, but then they knew it would come. They knew it was just around the corner because everything is equal. So it was never dead money, and they always had an opportunity of a fair opportunity of actually hitting something. So I think Whatnot have gone down the right lines. I think they've started off on the right foot. They had to get some control over things, but I just feel like they have to become more clear on what the expectations are, put that down in black and white and give equal opportunity to everybody, and also limit the sellers on how to do it. So takes us on to Stacked and Packed in our future. We are really driving forward again now. We've stepped back. We've had a look at where the hobby is right now. We've reassessed everything with where repacks are. We're having a look at where Whatnot is and what their expectations are. And we're now giving more clarity with our products. We are now going to create proper terms and conditions for the products. We are going to go really strict on our series runs. We're building our own internal system, which has verification on there through barcodes and QR codes. So barcode for stock management for companies that we sell the product to or stock our product. And also QR codes to confirm verification that it is an authentic Stacked and Packed product, when it was manufactured, when it was put together, what series it was for, and all of those things. So we're bringing all of that in, tightening everything, and making sure that we are giving a true consumer hobby fair play, which was always our initiative,
Yeah.
level, that everybody knows that if they come and buy one of our products, they're getting a fair product, which I think is really, really important. So we're launching Pokemon soon, which is going to be interesting. I told you that I've been looking at Pokemon. Means that there's a Stacked and Packed Pokemon product coming. I think the value that we've created in that is going to be crazy. So if anyone sees that coming, I don't think it will hang around long. We've got quite a big series. We've got slab packs. We've got Poke Stacks. So we've got Poke Slabs and Poke Stacks. And both of them, one is obviously a more slab focused product. One of them is more of a raw focused product. But 2 really nice concepts around that. And we've also got a God Pack version coming. So all those people who are desperate to hit a God Pack and go, I've never hit a God Pack, you can come and guarantee yourself one. So that would be really nice. So yeah, we're looking forward to all of that. Keep your eye out. Some promotional stuff going out on socials this week. And then finally, to wrap this
I'd say
episode up,
the only
mate.
thing I was
Go
going to
on.
add to that first, before we jump
Go,
in,
go, go.
was when we were talking about breaking on the repacks and stuff.
Yeah.
In my opinion, checklists are vital, as in the series runs. Sorry, series runs are vital and stuff like that. One of the biggest things that I think is a very, very simple way of making it as fair again as possible. And we've said it before, and when you were breaking on Whatnot, we've always done it, and we've done exactly the same. Wax.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, with wax, I can give a beautiful example of that the other day. We did a mixed break the other day with the repacks, and we had, was it 10 repacks and wax, and in there we had Prism Hobby Box. There was something else, and there was a Select Blaster or something like that. It was like 3 different wax products and repacks. again, every single spot still has a chance of hitting. Fulham did not hit in the repacks, but what they did hit was a black prism 1 of 1 Adama Traore.
Yeah.
And that's, again, the fact that is such a, in my head, simple way of ensuring that everyone still has fair chance
Yeah.
of hitting something, and that was a beautiful example of it. They lucked out on the repack element, but the wax comes in. The wax, we know wax is never always going to deliver, but this is one of the things we've just said. And sorry to bring it back to, I didn't get, I
No,
should
it
have
makes
jumped in a little
perfect
bit sooner.
sense.
I should have jumped in a little bit sooner, but it was like when you do a repack break with wax, I think it's fantastic because you sit there and break let's just take Prism on its own. 95% of the time of your 20 teams, how many of those people are making their money back?
One, if any.
Who hits the auto?
Yeah,
It's
that's
almost
it.
who hits the auto, and if you get
Yeah.
really lucky with a low numbered. But let's be honest, you could get a base Fabio Carvalho auto that's worth a fiver, and the
Yeah.
one person that hits it doesn't get their money back, which
Yeah.
is just mind blowing. Why do I love repack and wax? Because the 20 spots, if you hit one of the 9, 10 repacks, you're pretty much guaranteed your buy-in back.
Yeah.
Some of you will make over, some of you will get most of it back, some of you will certainly get it back. And then the wax, those people are just free rolling on the wax.
Yeah.
Okay, we lucked out on that one. No, but how many breaks can you honestly sit at and look at where half the people that buy in get their money back? Okay, do you know what? Someone might be really lucky and pick up 3 of the boxes and they pick up 3 of the repacks. And
Hmm.
okay, only 6 people get their money back. That's still ridiculous.
Yeah, that's right.
That's still an insane percentage amount of people making money back and profiting when we are just doing wax on its own. You don't see it,
I totally
so
agree.
I missed it. I should have chimed in on that one before
No,
we
do
started
you know
talking about
what?
things,
So
but
important. I've
you
been an
know
advocate of that since day one. I've always said that including wax with repacks is what they call it on Backyard, the meta, whatever they call it. It
yeah,
is because, like you say, it gives everyone a massive increased chance. I see in the UK too many wax only breaks, especially with single boxes or even half cases. So many go away empty handed. This is a way of creating more value per break, more people hitting. And like you said, so many times on Stacked and Packed on Whatnot, when we do breaks, people are going away. 50% of people are going away break even or profit. And that is just unbelievable compared to wax only breaks. And like you said, then people started going repack only breaks. But again, just saying doesn't sit comfortable with me. We would always, I'll be honest, I did ask our audience and I said, would you prefer repacks only or wax involved? And they said, I'd want more repacks. And that was 99% of people said, we know how good the repack value is, that we'd rather an extra £300 of repacks than we would you put in the wax in. But again, that's a consumer viewpoint. We see it from the other side. We actually can see how many people are going away happy. We want more people to go away happy. We want it to be fair. We want that equal opportunity for everyone who buys in. And this is where they're driven by that. Maybe sometimes oh, look at the flashy slabs that are coming out of that. But we know how important wax is to the hobby. It's
the one
such an important part.
the one thing I always say, a repack has a ceiling, wax does not.
Yeah.
And that's the reality of what you're doing. You put in a £100 repack that has a 300-400 pound ceiling, for example. That obsidian box that then comes in could have a 101 Yamal auto in.
Yeah.
So what would have been, for the equivalency, of £300 worth of wax going in, you're going to have 1,200 in ceilings. You're now actually potentially hitting a 20k card.
Yeah.
The likelihood of doing that is slimmer, but you need to be in there with that chance. Prime example again, that 1 of 1 that we hit literally just the other day.
Yeah.
A case hit can come out. It can just, the wax can be a game changer. Very rarely is on its own. but when it's mixed in, it really isn't. It's like the salt and pepper on top of a finely cooked meal.
I
You
love
know,
it.
it
What an
just
analogy.
you know.
I love it. To talk about value and to talk about all of this and wax being involved, somewhere where wax can't be involved and is never going to be involved, but big, big marketing push recently. And the first time it's been constantly available, to be perfectly honest, is Arena Club. So if anyone isn't aware, it is a US based app. It's you can basically go on there and you can buy a slab repack, and you can buy that at any time. So you don't need someone like Rich with all his entertainment value, which is far better than just opening a product on a silly app. Rich will give you full blown entertainment, better than you could get from anywhere else. EastEnders, forget about it. Rich's streams are more entertaining. So it takes away that human interaction. It is something that's always accessible. So if you wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and you fancy itching your, little, there's something there that you've got to open something, you can always go on there and rip it now. It wasn't like that before because they would release it, it would all sell out instantly, and then it would be gone and you'd have to wait for the next release. But now they've really invested heavily and put it live. Do you know what worried me, Rich? How it worried me? When something goes from it was instantly sold out previously to now it's always available. That scope, if you imagine how many packs did they need to upload to their system when it instantly sold out? 1,000, 2,000.
Yeah,
To
yeah.
make it
I know where
instantly
you're going. Yeah.
available, I think there probably needs to be 100,000 sitting there now for that constant churn. Because some people like me over the last month have probably opened hundreds of these repacks because I just wanted to test the water. I wanted to gauge the hit rates. I wanted to engage all of this.
Oh, it was just
So
science, was it? It was just
just
science.
science. Just I did it for science, Rich. This is exactly
For
what I
the
did
love of
it
the
for.
game.
This is exactly right. So I did it for you people, so you could know. I had no addiction to it. I had no I wanted to make sure everything was good. So it worried me that does the quality dilute? Because going from a few thousand to 100,000 is big, and
Yeah.
it becomes very easy to try and cheat that. So there's definitely more Arena Club graded slabs on there now. That's for sure. Which I don't love. Because they're not a grading company that has the respect to the hobby at this point. So I wanted to see when Digital Grading Company, which people will know is my grading company for the UK, came around, and we used to start putting them into repacks because there was no official comps or official value for what DGC added at that particular time. We've graded over like 7,000 cards now, so we're starting to make a bit of an impact in the UK. But when we first started doing it, we actually put the value of the card as the raw value. So even if it got a DGC 10, we would put it in our products as the raw value of that card because we thought that was fair. They're not doing that. If you get a 10 from them, they are adding value onto that card. I find that a little bit difficult at the moment. I do get that there comes a cost with them grading cards, but it feels to me like they needed this extra volume and the way they've gone about it rather than investing huge amounts of cash flow. So I do get it into 100,000 PSA slabs. It's let's go and grade a load of our own.
It's always tricky when someone grades their own cards and sells their own cards as well, isn't it? It's very, it's because it's then in their best interest to give that card a 10. That it's always it's always tricky when whenever I see people associated with grading selling their own graded cards more than the raw value, you go, it's not quite, you know, you
Yeah,
have something to gain for that grading accuracy to not be correct.
yeah.
And so I get where you're coming from with that one, definitely.
So I'm a bit like that. And then the other thing, I mean, like I said, I've opened hundreds of packs. I've only ever had two or three cards significantly more value than what I've paid. And every single time they've come from a $25 repack or a $50 repack. Never from 100, never from 250, never from 500. The only time I've ever had. So from all the other ones on a $50 repack, yeah, okay, we've had one, maybe $120. That was the biggest upside we've ever had. So a bit more than double what you've paid. Okay, fair enough. On the $100 repacks, never have I had something more than $120. On the
Right.
$250 repacks, I've never hit a card more value than what I've spent. And on the $500 repacks, I've never hit a card more than what I've spent. And I've opened quite a lot of all. So there definitely seems to be a better hit rate from the $25 and the $50 than the 100, 250, 500. Which is a problem because especially when you open a $250 pack, like when you open the $25, quite often you'll get $20 back or $18 back. So the downside percentage isn't that great. You open those 250s, the majority of the time you'll hit something worth about $120, $130. So it's quite a big downside. You're 50% gone, just vanished
Yeah,
like that.
it's a hell of a hit.
And then every now and then you'll get one that will be $200. So you've lost 50. So, I mean, I put in 500 quid as a test again. I thought, right, open a 250, $120 card, open another one, $120 card. Right, now I'm going to start opening some hundreds, $50 cards, open another one, $38 card. Right, now I'm going to open some 25s, $9 card. Okay, now I've got a $20 card, open another one, $9 card, £500 gone in the space of a few minutes. And it just made me feel like, why am I not on eBay looking at auctions and just buying the stuff that I want to buy? There are some nice parts of it, like the fact that on that $25 range, it's going to cost you that to send a card to PSA.
Yeah,
So
of course. Yeah, I get that.
if you're going to do that, then you can hit some nice stuff. And also, the way that their app works to value stuff, if you can be bothered to spend the time to actually comp stuff on their app, because people get caught out. You can, when you set the price, you can choose fair, which will have a one flame, good price, which has got two flames, or excellent price, which has got three flames. Well, I've checked the comps, and sometimes they're way off. Way off. So I hit a card, for an example. It was Lieutenant Surge's Magneton in a PSA 9 first edition. I went and
Yeah.
comped it. The last sale from one of those dodgy eBay accounts that we talk about, Rich, one of those dodgy ones, which has put a really awful comp out there.
One of the two, I'm thinking.
Yeah, this is it. So put a really dodgy comp, but people will still pay attention to that comp. $50. The one before that, $60, whatever. And you looked at it and you just thought, they're offering me $121. As much as I like the card, I like to keep the card. I think I'm really going to struggle to get anywhere near that if I sold it at a show or wherever. So I just took it. I just said, right. But there are things like that the other way where they've actually said something's like a $50 card. And I've had a look at comps and I'm like, oh, some recent sales are like $100. Like this is, so you probably could, if you wanted to attack that market, rather than opening the packs, I reckon you could go and do some right good deals on that app and get some real good bargains, because the person who's selling it is going by what the app suggests is the price, but the current market suggests different.
Right, with you.
So I think there are some opportunities there, but it would take a bit of time and a bit of effort to be comping everything and going through all of the different listings.
I see that. That makes sense.
But you, would you ever be tempted with Arena Club, or is that not your world?
It's not my cup of tea, I don't think. Do you know what it is? I love the concept.
Mm.
I can't lie to you. I think the concept is fantastic. Um, anything to enable people to be lazy will be successful. It's
Yeah.
as simple as that, you know? Um, I love the concept. I saw it when it was always selling out rapidly and stuff like that. It's probably something I'm gonna dabble in, I can't lie. Um, but, I'm a I'm a buy it at a card show kinda guy.
Mm.
I've been very, very strict recently. I've monstrously narrowed my PC and stuff like that. I've been very, I'm a we're on opposite ends of the scale again on this one. I'm the
Look,
conservative.
I genuinely, and this isn't me being silly. Look, I had a lot of fun while doing it.
Yeah, of course.
I was storing some of the cards away, thinking they're good for repacks. So I wasn't going to lie. There was some bits I was thinking, actually, that's really nice. That's really nice. Put them away. So I was doing it from a business perspective a little bit as well. But anyone who would use that as their business buying tool would be a lunatic. You'd soon go out of business very, very quickly.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, because the
Look,
business running it's gonna be the one that wins ultimately, let's be honest, yeah.
yeah. I mean, look, it's no different to me at the beginning of the month. Money comes in, you get paid. You think, I'm going to go into a break today or a couple of breaks. I'm going to go on backyard and buy into something, or I'm going to go on whatever it is, or I'm going to get myself a few repacks. It's no different to setting aside, I'm going to spend £200 on a little, have a bit of fun, have a little gamble, see what it's all about, take a bit of a risk. But the rest of my budget for my hobby for that month, I'm going to, and you can do it from low. So people who haven't got that few £100 budget, $25, they've got packs on there for $25. I'm pretty sure, mate, that some of those ones that I hit that were over $100 cards for my $25, some people would be absolutely over the moon with those. Over the moon. So if you've got £100 budget for your hobby for the month and you set aside 75 for actually going out there and buying what you like and and $25 of it or £25 of it you spent on opening a pack on Arena Club, I don't think it's a bad idea because you can get some really nice stuff, some graded stuff. And those Americans, there's a lot more cards out there, a lot of different stuff, and you can get some good vintage or some very modern stuff in there. I was surprised how quickly they've got the modern sets into stock on there. They haven't messed around.
Yeah.
They've gone out there and done it really quickly. So I think
What?
it has a place.
You spent your 25 quid on a flyweight.
Well, mate, that is absolutely the correct decision. I agree with you there. The thing that I have tried, Rich, I haven't had someone come back to me yet, but there was a Lionel Messi auto in an account on Arena Club. So you can go and see what people have got in their collections. So, and you can
Okay, that's
actually do
cool.
a search as well. So you can search for Messi, or you can search for soccer, or you can search for whatever. You can go and see their accounts, and you can offer them trades, and you can offer them part cash. You can offer
I
cards.
like that. That I like.
It's quite cool. And I saw a Messi on there and I thought, do you know what? Just by the odd chance, he might not be that precious over his Messi card. He might not be a big soccer collector. It was the only soccer card he had. Didn't have anything else. So I thought, I'm going to chuck a cheeky offer over. All my best Pokemon bits, I'm going to offer him. And add a bit of cash to it. See what he thinks. I haven't had a response yet. Hopefully by next week, I can come back on our next podcast and go, I've got myself in a Messi Immaculate Auto for a few Pokemon cards and a bit of cash, and that would be amazing.
That's gonna kick off next week's podcast.
Exactly.
Was Frankie successful?
Well, that was brilliant, mate. Really enjoyed that, and we'll see everybody on the next one.